guys, it's me, it's Vicky Marshall of the Marshalls. Continuing on Bill's video, doing my own now, talking about the best 10 horror movies. They're the best to me.
What the hell?
Mine, on the other hand, aren't in any particular order. I'll number them off for shits and giggles, but it's not in that distinct order. That's what you're getting.
Lady, you're scaring us.
First, here are some of my honorable mentions, which I will say it was extremely difficult for me to leave them off the top 10. So, to start it off with my number 10, one of my absolute favorites for as long as I can remember is Candyman, the original, starring Tony Todd as Candyman. Growing up, where I spent my first 5 years of life, at the very least, looked very similar to the area of Chicago that the movie focuses on. Very dangerous area. I wasn't allowed outside. Candyman scared the ever-living shit out of me as a kid, and I couldn't get enough. I kept rewatching time and time again to the point that it was so real to me. And that's part of what I loved so much about it. It was a real, genuine fear. And I, even as a child, knew something like Candyman couldn't exist. We had like the Bloody Marys and whatnot of childhood, but I always knew they weren't real. Candyman's backstory always hit me in the feels. I felt for him, and that was at such a young age, having sympathy for the villain. That kicked it all off.
Be my victim. Be my victim.
But yeah, so that's my number 10.
You're mine now.
Now my number 9, Aliens. I love Aliens. It had to have started with the Bravo 100 Scariest Movie Moment. They talked so heavily on the Alien movies, and that kicked it off for me. Alien for me has always been a favorite. It's a slow burn, whereas Aliens, boom, 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 boom. It never stops.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man.
Huge fan of the Xenomorph. Just love it. And if I had to pick a favorite out of all of them that I could watch at any given moment, at any suggestion of Bill's or anyone hanging out with me, spending any time with me, Aliens would always send. But yeah, that's my number 9.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Now my number 8 is still newer to me compared to the last two. It's Basket Case. I had seen it once years ago. Never came across it again because it wasn't an easy to find type of movie. It wasn't available on streaming or any of that for so long, and then a pin company reminded me of it. I have so many Belial pins at this point still, and I will never part ways with them because I love Belial. It's such a standard, like, revenge type movie, but so hokey and 80s B-movie style. I love it. We met Frank Henenlotter, the director, of course. This being my introduction to Frank Henenlotter, wonderful. We also met at that same convention, Kevin Van Hentenryck, both sweet as pie, sweet as angels. Incredible. Just such a fun movie, and hearing directly from the horse's mouth, Frank Henenlotter, of going through the process of making this movie in 1980s Times Square, Manhattan. Unreal. It's just one of my favorites. Shouldn't be a feel-good movie, but it is to me. So that's my number 8. And now my number 7. Ironically enough, it's 7. I love 7. Unlike Bill's aunt, who said it's the scariest movie of all time for her, the first David Fincher movie that I had ever seen. This DVD release is so unreal. It's so fucking cool. It's supposed to be like John Doe's Notebooks. Since I was a kid, I always loved true crime. I know. I won't go too deep into that. I was also obsessed with the 7 Deadly Sins. That was such a fascinating idea to me because you can fit so many acts into those topics. John Doe fascinated me. Kevin Spacey's delivery of the lines, as few as they are realistically given the length of the movie, unstoppable. Definitely had quotes from the movie on my MySpace page way back when.
Wanting people to listen, you can't just tap them on the shoulder anymore. You have to hit them with a sledgehammer. And then you'll notice you've got their strict attention.
I don't want to go too far into details of the movie if you somehow at this point haven't seen it, but
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
ending with Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box. Just unreal. And Morgan Freeman as an elder detective ready for retirement, paired with Brad Pitt as a newer, cocky, youthful detective. It was just so perfectly cast.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
That's what I got for 7, my number 7. And now my number 6. This was tough for me to pick. While Bill has Friday the 13th, I love Hellraiser. I love it so much. Doug Bradley as Pinhead
Demons to some, angels to others.
is unmatched. You can't. I know they tried. That's where we'll leave it. They tried, and it did not work.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
The original Hellraiser can't be matched. The sequels are phenomenal.
What?
Up to a certain point.
Okay.
I was torn between 1 through 4, but realistically, number 1 is my ultimate favorite.
It's Frank. It's Uncle Frank. No. Come to Daddy.
The Cenobites are so fucking cool looking, and at the time it was like nothing you'd ever seen before. We even met Clive Barker a few years ago, and it was absolutely unreal, along with most of the cast. My number 6. Number 5 might surprise some of you. I know Bill didn't choose any of the Universal monsters, but I did. I am a huge fan of Frankenstein. Always have been for as long as I can remember. I even have multiple Frankenstein tattoos. I love this story. It always coincided with my idea that you just shouldn't mess with nature.
It's alive! It's alive!
The scene with him and little Maria at the water. He's just trying to play. He's essentially a gentle giant. He switches when you cross him. I genuinely don't believe that Frankenstein meant to hurt her. He was just trying to keep playing. That tore me up as a kid and stuck with me throughout my life. Love Frankenstein on such a sympathetic level, because he didn't ask for any of that. Boris Karloff's depiction of Frankenstein, even so many years ago, you can't replace him. He's phenomenal. And that's why it's my number 5. And for my number 4, this movie means a lot to me. And it's Two Evil Eyes, a 2-parter anthology of sorts because it's just 2 parts.
The writer who first gave fear a face.
Dario Argento and George Romero each directed a part. This movie I saw definitely way too young. Scared the shit out of me. The same as I said for Candyman, I just saw it way too young. My dad would chase me around to tickle me, but scare me by saying, "Jessica!" just like the old man. When we met Adrienne Barbeau at a convention, I told her that, and she goes, "Is your name Jessica?" And I was like, "No." And that was one of my most awkward moments. I didn't watch Dario Argento's part much until I got older. Once I showed Bill this, that's when I started to watch it more frequently, and even then, on the slimmer scale, because that one still scares the shit out of me. But The Old Man with Adrienne Barbeau, oh, it's so good. It's so much fun. That's what I got for my number 4. And now for my number 3. The battle goes on and on for Fright Night versus the Lost Boys. Not for me, it's Near Dark. I love Near Dark. From Lance Henriksen to Bill Paxton, hell, Jeanette Goldstein. One of my ultimate favorite movies of all time, no questions asked. It is a love story. There is a child included, and unlike Interview with a Vampire, he is a motherfucker. The scene in the bar
Finger licking good.
fucked me up so much, but even as a kid, I can still remember watching it and laughing because it was just absurd. It was unbelievable.
I am the name and shaved.
I'll tell you the one about Buffalo Bill.
It's held so tight to me over all of these years, and it just, nothing will ever compare to it. It's so unlike the other movies that were coming out at the time, like Lost Boys and Fright Night. And that's my number 3.
Fasten your fucking seatbelt.
And my number 2, Eraserhead. Bill will go on and on about movies he had to watch over and over again in film school. I did not. I didn't have to do any of that. This is the second movie by David Lynch I saw. I saw Fire Walk with Me after binge watching Twin Peaks multiple times. But I saw Eraserhead up next, and it was in my early 20s. It resonated so highly with me because of the fear of growing up.
Oh, you are sick.
An absurd movie. It's David Lynch after all. It's realistically his fear of what's next, what's to come in this bizarro dystopian land. Complete silence, the lack of music in a lot of it, it's just incomparable. This movie is just so much like a dream mixed with a nightmare. Not a total nightmare, but again, mixed with a nightmare. Much like many of David Lynch's movies, but this one stuck with me the most in the fact that he made it in film school on like nothing, no money. I just love it so much, and that's why it's my number 2. And now my final, Silence of the Lambs. Now this is another one I saw way too young, but it had to have kicked off that love of true crime I spoke about when I was talking about Seven. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, unmatched.
Quid pro quo. I tell you things, you tell me things.
You can't ever do it. I know they tried with Manhunter and that did come first. I didn't see Manhunter or even know that it happened until I met Bill and he showed it to me. The fact that Frankie Faison has been in all of the Hannibal movies. He's the only one to be in all 4. I love that so much, and I'm a big fan of his work. Hannibal Lecter's interactions with everyone in all of his scenes, but especially Clarice, the way he got in her head, it just really fucked me up, but I loved it. I can still watch this movie on any given day, any given moment. If you suggest watching this, I will throw it on. We just recently upgraded it, and my favorite part about upgrading it wasn't seeing it crystal clear, none of that. It was the chance to watch it again. And Buffalo Bill. Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. I even remember seeing the remake to The Hills Have Eyes and hearing his voice and knowing instantly it was Ted Levine when Clarice gets to his house.
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
Knowing that he is caught and he can't do anything about it, the movie is just perfect in my eyes. It won Best Picture for a reason. I wouldn't change a thing about it. And that's my number 1.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. Put the fucking lotion in the basket!
Which of my movies would you agree are top 10 worthy, at least in your opinion? What would you have swapped out for them and why? I'm really curious to know. So please leave a comment down below. Share it with me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. @MoldyHawn. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. I just run out of shit to say about these. It's like, I like it.